With the release of Minecraft's Wild update, now seems a more fitting time than ever to tackle some of that new content, and of course I was drawn to the Mangrove Swamp, which is just a fascinating looking biome. Not only that, you guys have been suggesting this one for quite some time, far longer than the update has been out. This one's going to be particularly difficult because I think it's the most realistic biome that has been introduced to the game. That means there's a lot more details in the trees and the textures. And while a lot of my previous work has been based off existing LEGO kits, there are no Mangrove kits quite yet. But hey, let's give it a go. As has kind of become standard practice at this point, there's just too much in this biome to fit on one 8x8 module, so I'll be combining two together to create a 16x32 stud base, or a 16x8 block base in the game. For dirt, I'll be using our regular reddish brown, and I'll be representing mud with dark brown. Black just seemed way too dark a color. I would rather save that for something like a nether bastion, or of course obsidian for a nether portal. At the edges of the model, you'll see that I'm including some submerged mangrove roots. You can actually see through them, so I want to get some of that texture in LEGO as well, so I'm not going to be using standard 2x2 bricks to make them. As I found with the Lush Cave episode, dark blue works just as well as a color to put underneath our trans dark blue bricks, so that's what's going to be under the water. I do have to get pretty creative with my usage of dark brown pieces because I really don't have a lot. Yet, at least. It is becoming a more and more common color, which is good to see. Lily pads were first introduced in the Witch Hut set a number of years ago. It's the same design I'll be using here in this set. It utilizes some of those new dots tiles in green to great effect to create that perfect lily pad shape. I'm placing them on top of regular 1x2 dark trans blue plates, so they will stick up above the water just a little bit by that tile's worth of height. I hope we continue to see this design in sets because it's just so good. With those out of the way, the next step is the best, tiling this thing off. So for this, I bought 1,200 1x2 trans dark blue tiles. Quite the investment, but I do hope to be doing a lot more water-based modules in the future, as that has been a very popular suggestion. This build alone is going to use a few hundred, but I'm still going to have plenty left over to do some more substantial things. I'm thinking a mushroom island, hopefully in the near future, and maybe some proper ocean builds if I can figure out how to do that. The mud, of course, like I said, is going to be dark brown, and I'm going to be using regular green for the grass color here. It's about as close of a match as we're going to get, and it's the only green I had in any sort of quantity on hand. I wish I had more dark brown, but those are all the tiles I've got left. The trees are going to be kind of fun because it's not going to be our usual blocky shape. We are going to get some rounded shapes in here just to get the texture right. 1x1 round plates, some regular plates, some 1x2 and 1x4 profile bricks in brown. And despite the spindly look of these things, by interlocking the bricks, I'm able to make these strong enough, hopefully, to support the weight of the leaves I'm going to put on top of them. These are really bulky trees, especially compared to anything that we've done before. Even the jungle tree, at least the jungle tree had that solid 4x4 trunk all the way up. These are more or less floating above the ground. This part of the build is starting to feel like a LEGO Masters strength challenge all of a sudden, and I don't know how I feel about that. Regardless, I'm glad I went with the route I did with the texture. It makes these logs stand out a lot more than the other ones that we've done so far in the series. I knew the leaves of the trees themselves were going to be particularly challenging, and I was not disappointed on that front at all. My goal was to make sure that no anti-studs were showing, and that's where the problems came in. Unlike most trees in the game, the mangrove swamp trees are much more random and organic in nature, meaning that there's a lot more variety and a lot more potential with these trees. They end up looking just a lot more natural than those blocky oak trees that you're used to. At the end of the day, I think it ends up making a far more interesting tree. As it is, our biome has a lot of green and a lot of brown, but I think we can add some more color in here as well. So one idea that I had was the addition of a mangrove swampwood boat. Mangrove wood, of course, is dark red, so that's the color I'll be using for this boat. I'll also include Alex in here with 2 shovels for oars. I will need to make room for her, so I'm going to remove one of those wonderful lily pads, tile that off instead, so we can put the boat there. Another great source of color will be a beehive. Bees are one of the few mobs that can actually spawn in this very dense biome, so it just makes sense to have them here. They're going to stand out great against the green as well. Minecraft bees are included in one set so far, the bee farm, and I'm going to be utilizing some transparent pieces to give the illusion that they're flying. Of course, we're still missing the frog. It's inevitable that LEGO will make their own custom frog like they did with the axolotl and silverfish molds, but in the meantime, I have to make something on my own. This is what I came up with. You can let me know if you think it's cursed or not. I'm torn. It'll work in the meantime. As soon as I get the official ones, I'm replacing them. This is the moment I realized I forgot the propagules on the trees, so some intense surgery had to take place to add those in. And even though that took quite some time, I do think the results is worth it, and I really couldn't have left those out of this model. And with the addition of those propagules, I'm feeling pretty confident that this build is complete. We've got lots of color, lots of mobs. We've got Alex finally in this build, and I've been able to employ a variety of new techniques that hopefully you can utilize in your own Minecraft LEGO builds as well. This thing looks great from all angles, but I do need to find a place to put it. Ideally, I'll make a transition model or two between this and whatever it connects to, but whereabouts do you think this should end up in the big LEGO Minecraft layout? Do let me know. Next up, I'm hoping to visit the Nether for the first time. It's going to be a separate display, actually. It's not going to be built underground like I've done in the past. I want to be able to expand it individually because there's a lot of great nether biomes to tackle. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great life, and I'll see you next time.